What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys. We're going to be focusing on the Euros today. We have picked out 12 players that Spurs fans should be looking out for in terms of a potential transfer this summer. I love tournament football, and we're about to get underway with a festival of football, not just the Euros, but the Copa. Maybe we'll do another episode for the Copa, but today we are focusing just on the Euros. The first player that we're going to look at is Youssouf Fofana of Monaco. 30 million market value, 25 years of age. He will be playing for France, obviously, at the Euros. 1 year left in his contract, which could be an interesting one for Spurs going into this transfer window. Fabrizio Romano has already said that he will not be playing for Monaco past this transfer window. He will be leaving this summer. So he could be an interesting one. Hybrid of like a 6 and 8. And he's had obviously a very good season for Monaco this season.
Yeah, wanted by a lot of top clubs, Youssouf Fofana, and he's clearly a player who's sparking a lot of interest, and it's going to be definitely of interest to see how he does in the Euros if he gets the required game time. From what I see, Monaco like to play like a 4-4-2 kind of system, so he does play a bit like a box-to-box role predominantly for Monaco, and that probably bears out in his stats. You can see very well performing in the passing stats, progressive passes, which is in the dark blue there. You can see his attacking stats as well, in kind of the turquoise green colours here. So obviously 4 goals, 4 assists from central midfield this season. Really amazing season. Obviously he's got unbelievable engine and covers a lot of ground as well. Makes a lot of tackles in the midfield third, but his tackles inceptions above average. Does tend to have a below average against dribblers, tackling dribblers. Doesn't make too many tackles in the attacking third as well. Profiles probably looks like at the moment probably best as like a box-to-box number 8, and obviously goal contributions there as well. But there are thoughts that he could be converted into a more sitting number 6 as well.
I like him. I haven't seen him play too much, but whenever I have seen him play, he's really impressed me in terms of his tenacity in the middle of the park. But it's interesting to see him in this Euros. Do you think he'll get significant amount of game time with the likes of Camavinga, Tchouameni, N'Golo Kante, I think, has been called up this Euros as well. So do you think he'll get significant game time?
I don't think he'll be a starter, but I do think he'll be one who'll be used a lot. I can see him definitely getting a start maybe in the third group game, and I also think he can be one of those players who you can bring off the bench if you need to change the game.
You've got Adrien Rabiot as well, also being called up, and Warren Zaire-Emery, who's obviously a starlet for PSG. But we'll have to wait and see how that one goes in terms of his game time at the Euros. Let us know in the comment section below. Would you like to see him at Tottenham Hotspur this summer? Next up is a really interesting one. Joey Veerman of the Netherlands, 40 million market value, plays for PSV, 25 years of age. He's been a goal contribution machine in the Eredivisie this year, and with the injury to Koopmeiners, he could be getting the upgrade for that starting spot in the middle of the park.
Yeah, also plays a more box-to-box number 8 position. Quite an offensive midfielder though. Gets into a lot of attacking positions. Got 21 assists last season, which is a ridiculous number, obviously, for PSV, who went on to win the league last season. And with the injuries, as you're saying, I think he could be in for a bit of a starring role for the Netherlands, maybe a bit further forward as well. So you've got the likes of Xavi Simons as well in that position. But I think Joey Veerman will definitely be looking at fancying his chances. If you look at his stats, extremely impressive. Passing stats near the top for pretty much all of them, apart from pass completion. But for an offensive player, you kind of expect that. Offensive stats near the top as well. Really impressive. Defensively, also above average. Makes a lot of tackles in the attacking third, so very good pressing midfielder as well. Not a traditional number 10. I would say more of an offensive number 8. That's how I'd compare Joey Veerman. So maybe we'd be looking at if, say, the Gallagher deal breaks down, kind of that kind of position, and also maybe back up to Maddison can fill in that role as well. Yeah,
could be our replacement for Giovanni Lo Celso when he goes out the door. And he's an interesting one as well, because in the last year, his market value has shot up. I mean, a year ago today, his market value on transfer market was 16 million euros. Now it's 40 million. So that is some significant increase in the last year, and that probably demonstrates how well he's been doing in this PSV team for the past year.
21 assists, that would do it, I think.
Yeah, I think it says here 16.
21 goal contributions.
Yeah, 16 assists and 5 goals in 29 games this year in the Eredivisie. And with him being 25 years of age, he could be, you know, if he has a good tournament, that market value could go up even more.
Definitely. Still 20, as you say, 25. So this could be a real breakout tournament for him.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about Morten Hjulmand of Denmark, 24 years of age, 40 million euro market value, a starring role in the Sporting team this season under Ruben Amorim, a real defensive midfielder that has got proper grit about him. He's got quality as well that I've seen on the ball. He's been linked to Spurs in the past, but the caveat with him is he's got an Arsenal tattoo, so I'm not sure how that would sit with the Spurs fans.
Also, Sporting play a bit of a 3-4-3 formation, so he doesn't play that lone kind of six role. Again, a bit similar to kind of Højbjerg, does play a bit of a kind of more the defensive kind of double pivot role. He would play. In his stats-wise, defensively, quite strong. Passing stats not great, to be honest. All of them below average. Doesn't make too many passes into the final third. Not many progressive passes either. Offensively doesn't perform so well. Doesn't take too many shots, but that's fine. Shot creating actions from defensive actions is pretty good. So he does kind of get involved in that in terms of he creates chances from his own defensive actions quite often. Pass completion is probably his best stat, but just he could be playing safe passes there. Doesn't make too many key passes. So defensively, he's pretty good, but the other stats don't make for pretty reading. So whether he can translate into a good number 6, we'll see. But interesting to see if he has a good tournament for Denmark. But then again, I think they play 3 at the back as well. So I don't know how much we can learn from it.
I think for Denmark in the friendly game so far, they've played a 4-3-3, and their 3 in the middle have been Hjulmand, Højbjerg, and they've converted Christensen into a bit of a midfielder as well. Then.
So he'll probably play the 6 role, I assume.
Who, Højlund or
Christensen?
Christensen, yeah. But I think that all 3 of them are real. You wouldn't say they're attacking-minded players. I think Højbjerg is the one that actually gets the most further forwards out of all 3 of them, which is interesting. So we'll have to see how that one goes. The next one is one I'm really interested in. Johan Bakayoko of PSV and Belgium. 45 million market value, 21 years of age, and I've been so impressed with this guy every single time I've seen him step up foot on a football pitch, and even against Arsenal in the Champions League earlier on in the campaign, I thought he gave Arsenal no ends of problems. Such a great ball carrier, a box of tricks as well on the ball, and he's got quality at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think if Belgium are going to have a good tournament, I think he's going to have to be quite central to it because they've got a lot of older players, a lot of players out of form, and he's one of the ones coming into it where you're saying that he could be a real threat and he could really light this tournament up if given the opportunity. The question is, will he be starting every game? They've got some good attacking players. Doku's there. They've got Trossard, obviously in great form for Arsenal. You've got De Bruyne, Lukaku probably expecting to start up front. So it's whether he's going to get in the team and get that platform to shine is the big question. But if I was Belgium manager, I think he would be my pick on the right-hand side. So
in the first game, they started him and Carrasco on the wings in the friendlies. In the second game, they started Doku and Trossard on the wings. Trossard and Bakayoko both played on the right-hand side in those friendlies. But Bakayoko actually only played 45 minutes in the first game, so it does look like he's not maybe the first option. But what I can tell you about Bakayoko, he will get chances off the bench, and I think he will make an impact off the bench as well.
Yeah, and he's going to be a really exciting option. And if he has a really good Euros, already there's a queue of teams looking at him. But if he has a starring Euros, I think it'll be hard to win a battle to get him, I think. I mean, that graph, just look at it. Stats, yeah, that graph is just at the end of everything. Yeah, he's literally near the upper echelons of every single metric you want in a winger. Possession defensively, chances created, his dribbling, one of the best dribblers in the Eredivisie. So still also only 21 years of age, so much growth he can do as well. He's one where there's so much excitement about. 2 years left in his contract. I do think it will take quite a significant fee maybe to get him out of PSV, probably in the ballpark of 40 to 50 million.
But I think at 21 years of age, when you're looking at the right winger options that we do have, he represents an upgrade and someone that would actually fit in properly to the Ange Postecoglou system as well.
So it's a case of him having a good but not too good of a tournament?
I think so, yeah. I think so. Next up, Eberechi Eze doesn't need much of an introduction, 25 years of age, obviously for England, Crystal Palace, 55 million market value. It is rumoured that he does have a release clause in his contract for £60 million. And if he's available for that money, you go and get him. He's of that quality.
It's going to be interesting to see what kind of role he has for England. Obviously, I didn't take Grealish. And they taken Eze kind of instead of him. Not expecting him to start, given Foden's probably going to take that left-hand side position.
Got Gordon as well.
Gordon as well. But I do think they've taken him for a reason. I do think they've taken him more as a left winger than a centre mid, in my opinion. But I think obviously Tottenham are sniffing around. You've got Man United looking at him. Any top club worth their salt will be looking at Eze. This is obviously his stats. Performed really strong. Very good dribbler. Passing quite strong as well. Got to also take into account a lot of these stats are him under Roy. So when it says progressive passes received, he probably wasn't in those forward positions as much under Roy as he would have been under Glasner. But shot creating actions really high. We know Eze's a great player. We don't need stats to show it. But will he get the minutes for England in the tournament? That's the question. I wouldn't be surprised if in the first game, if we're not playing well, maybe he brings him in, because Southgate's shown that he has been brave sometimes in those decisions to bring in players if they're not performing. But I do think Gordon might get the nod at the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. I think like the backup to the left winger, first backup probably going to be Gordon. The first backup to the number 10, you'd probably say it's going to be Palmer, if Bellingham takes that spot. So I'm not sure where kind of Eze will fit in, but I really hope he gets called upon, because he does. I think he offers something different to maybe what all of the other England number 10s and left wingers does bring. So
it was great in that first friendly.
He was man the match. He was man the match, best player on the park. So I do hope he gets the minutes, because he deserves it with the quality that he does have. It's just unfortunate for him that other players obviously have also been unbelievable for their clubs this season. And look, let's hope he gets the minutes he deserves. So we'll see how that one works out. Next up is Ivan Toney. I don't expect him to get many minutes, to be fair, with Ollie Watkins and Harry Kane are the number 9s in the squad. But 28 years of age, 50 million market value, playing for Brentford, going into the last year of his contract. So it's actually could be a time to get him maybe under his market value.
Yeah, a lot of people considering him lucky maybe to be going, but what an opportunity for him to really put himself in the shop window after what you have to say was a mixed campaign, considering he was banned for half of it. When he came back, he went on a bit of a drought near the end of the season, albeit when he first came back, he looked like he'd never been away. But he did kind of end the season poorly. So maybe a bit lucky to be in the squad, but if he gets any sort of opportunity, he's going to have to grab with both hands. And if he can make an impact in this tournament, I think all of a sudden you might see teams looking at him a bit differently, whereas right now teams are a bit cold on the prospect of spending big money on Ivan Toney. His stats aren't obviously particularly great. Pressing-wise, this is him profiled as a pressing forward. You can see defensively quite strong, but in terms of the chances he gets, his shots on total, he does quite a lot, but shots on target and goal to shot, not great. So not the most clinical striker at the moment. But I definitely think a striker who could fit how Tottenham like to play. I do think has a good overall game.
Yeah, I like Toney as a player. I just don't like him too much in terms of the personality that I've seen come through, which I think Ange Postecoglou very much values that in a player. So I'm not sure if he is the one that we're going to push the button on. And I also do question whether he's going to get any sort of significant game time in this tournament. I do see Ollie Watkins being the natural backup to Harry Kane. So if we are through after 2 games in the group stage, I still don't think he'll start. Maybe he'll come on in that game, but I can't see him getting any minutes, really.
Yeah, maybe if we need to really throw caution to the wind, get 2 up top, maybe he'll go for Toney, who maybe I think has a bit more of an aerial threat than Watkins, although it's quite close. But yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be third choice.
Next up, we're going to look at Lutsharel Geertruida of the Netherlands and Feyenoord. 32 billion market value, 23 years of age. A very versatile player that can play right back, CDM as well, centre back as well. I do think, I'm not sure where he fits in. Maybe at right back in the Netherlands, maybe in the midfield. but they do have a host of talent at the in the defensive numbers for Netherlands going into this tournament. And look, he's a player of top talent. He's been rumoured to go to many top teams from around Europe. He's been He's been linked to Spurs as well. I'd love to see him through the door at Spurs.
Yeah, and a versatile player. I think predominantly played at right back this season for Feyenoord, but can play centre back, can play centre mid, as you say. Holland have been playing a more back three system for the majority of in the build up to this tournament, and in the friendlies they played 4 at the back in the first one, but I think 3 at the back in the second one. So I don't see him play wing back because they've got Dumfries and Frimpong there. Now the only role he can come in probably either right centre back, or maybe as a DM, seeing as De Jong's out. Maybe they need a number 6. Maybe they trust him to go there. Centre back, they got Van Dijk, they got Ake, Van de Ven, De Ligt. It's just going to be so hard for him to get in on the centre back slot. So it's going to be difficult for him to fill in there. And as I say, right wing back, I don't see him filling in there. Maybe if they move to a back 4, he has more of a chance of playing right back. Because I actually think you'd probably rather him at right back than a Dumfries if it's a natural right back rather than wing back. So maybe if they go with 4 at the back, he might get some significant game time. But if it's a back 3, he's going to have to probably play midfield, and so that he can fit in there.
In the friendlies, he played at right back in the first game against Canada, where Mickey van de Ven was actually at left back. So maybe the start of their partnership on the right and left backs for Spurs. But in the second game, he came on with 15 minutes to go and played right back again instead of he came on for Denzel Dumfries. So maybe that's where Netherlands do see him at the right back slot.
Yeah, it's been interesting because Frimpong has been playing right
wing, yeah,
and not in the wing back, which is obviously where he plays for Leverkusen. So maybe Koeman doesn't see, if Koeman sees Frimpong as a winger rather than a wing back, maybe that's where Geertruida fits in as a wing back.
It seems like that's where he sees him in terms of the friendlies and the build up to this tournament, and the stats speak for itself for Geertruida as well.
Yeah, this is him as an inverted fullback, which is where he's been playing a lot for Feyenoord, and obviously look at that, you can see very good on the ball, really good carrier, really good passer as well. The only thing that may be concerning a bit is the number of tackles interceptions he makes is quite low. But I think also you've got to remember he plays for quite a dominant Feyenoord team who are always on the ball. So obviously he's going to have less moments to tackle and make interceptions because of how dominant they are in possession. And hitting possession, you can see how good he is. So that's a big reason why a lot of teams are looking at him right now.
Next up, let's talk about Amadou Onana, obviously of Everton and Belgium. 50 million market value at the age of 22. He's had a bit of an up and down season for Everton this year, hasn't he? He even got taken out of the team at some point towards the end of the season. In the build-up to the tournament, he has been starting both games in the centre mid alongside Arthur Veerman of Atletico Madrid. What do you think about Onana? Because halfway through the season, I was convinced like he would be a really good signing for us. But now I'm not so sure.
I like him. I think he's obviously incredible defensive midfielder in terms of he has unbelievable ability to cover so much ground. Technically, he's a decent player as well. I think he's so difficult when you're taking him on, you're dribbling past him. He's so strong. It's very hard to get past him. But in terms of how we like to play with our number 6, do I see him getting the ball on the half turn and turning forward and providing an option like that, which I think we need for our number 6? Or if he's not going to do that, does he have the passing range to open up the pitch like some of the best defensive midfielders in the game? I don't think on the ball he's of the ability. If he was to come in as like a number 8, a defensive kind of number 8, I kind of see him have more of a role there. But in terms of number 6, I'm not convinced he's going to be a brilliant number 6 for us. But as you can see the stats here, defensively, you can see that's where he really performs strongly. On the ball, not great when it comes to his passing, below average when it comes to progressive passes and things like that. Doesn't get on the ball that much as well, so that's going to be a big change at Spurs if he was to come here. But he doesn't lose the ball often, which is positive. So he does kind of does well at keeping the ball and keeping possession. But for me, unless he can really up his game on the ball, which maybe he can at a more possession-based team, I think there are other players who might be better fit for the number 6 position at Tottenham.
I guess he is very young as well, and he's been playing in a team that is a heavily defensive team. Sean Dyche's Everton, probably the most defensive low block team you could get in the Premier League. So, look, I do see the values in him, and in terms of when you're really trying to shore up that midfield and add a defensive midfielder in there that's just going to gobble everything up, that is your man. But I do question whether he's good enough on the ball. He has been heavily linked with Arsenal over the past week or so. Fabrizio Romano was saying that Arsenal have made contact with Everton in terms of finding out the availability of Onana, so it'll be interesting to see how that one develops. But Spurs have also been linked with him in the past, but nothing serious has come to light of it. But let us know your thoughts of Amadou Onana in the comment section below. The next one's an interesting one, is Viktor Tsygankov of Ukraine, Girona player, 30 million market value, 26 years of age, got 8 goals and 7 assists in La Liga this season. And I imagine he will have a bit of a starring role if Ukraine are going to do anything this tournament.
Yeah, he'll definitely be playing, and he'll be one of their main players. Obviously, he had a brilliant season with Girona. In terms of how he profiles as a right winger, you bring on the stats. He doesn't perform very well dribbling wise, so he doesn't seem to be the best dribbler, which is I don't know if that's what we're looking for, but definitely you can see here one of the lowest percentiles for successful take-ons. Not great at carrying either. Passing performs a bit better. Key passes is still down, but quite decent at getting the ball into the box and getting on the ball in good positions. Assists are decent, but it seems to be overperforming his expected assists, to be honest, and his shot creating actions are low. So not the most creative winger, it seems, but obviously got 15 goal contributions last season. If he has a big tournament, he's going to really put himself in the shop window. I'm not convinced, but look, maybe if he can prove on the bigger stage what impact he can do, I'm going to still look at one kind of how he performs, not just if he does well, but how he's getting his goals and assists, because I think that's crucial. But he seems to be more of a winger in the Decky kind of mould rather than someone who's like a Bakayoko. Yeah,
and that's not exactly what we need. I mean, I think we need to be targeting players that are going to be specific for the Ange Postecoglou system, and I think Bakayoko definitely kind of says that about himself, but I'm not so much sure about the Ukrainian winger. But let's look at another Ukrainian in Georgiy Sudakov, 21 years of age, 35 million market value, currently playing for Shakhtar Donetsk. And we all know the problems that Shakhtar have with Spurs at the moment. But this guy is, there's a lot being spoken about him at the moment. There's even been said the noise coming out of Shakhtar said they wanted to wait till after the Euros because they think he's going to build up more value about himself. The numbers that have been touted about in the press for him is absolutely ludicrous. They're talking about like 70 million or 75 million for him. And at 21 years of age, only playing in the Ukrainian league, I think that money is just crazy. You look at Mikhailo Mudryk, who'd only been playing in that league and got the big move to Chelsea for monstrous money, and that hasn't worked out. But that's not to say that Sudakov won't work out, but I think it's a massive outlay for someone with little experience.
Yeah, obviously I haven't seen too much of him, Sudakov, but does play the number 10 position, would come in as competition for Maddison. His radar for a number 10 looks pretty solid. The passing's pretty good. His chance creation's pretty good. Doesn't get too many assists, but his expected assists is quite decent, so he's maybe underperforming his expected assists. For a 21-year-old in the Ukrainian league, he does seem to be performing quite highly and would provide good competition for Maddison. But are we willing to spend 60 to 70 million on good competition? I mean, it sounds a bit ridiculous. We'll have to see how he does for Ukraine. I do expect him to play a starring role in the number 10 position at the Euros. And they got a promising team, Ukraine, this year. So maybe he could be one of the main stars of it.
Yep, definitely one for watch out for, that's for sure. The last couple of players we got are both from Italy, I believe. Next up is Riccardo Calafiori, 22 years of age, 30 million market value, plying his trade in Bologna at the moment. And I'm not sure if he's going to start for Italy, but he's definitely had a sensational season for Bologna this year. He's been touted out for a big move to Juventus. If that doesn't go through, Spurs need to be doing their utmost to try and get him through the door, because he is perfect for what we're trying to do at left centre-back, at left-back, can play both roles really well, unbelievable on the ball, not bad in his defensive metrics as well. So I think that he would be perfect for us.
Yeah, can play left back, can play centre back, and is quite versatile and quite comfortable in both those positions. He hasn't been a regular starter for Italy in the lead up to this game, but has had a few starts. Obviously, they see him as more of a centre back than a left back, but whether he'll get those starts remains to be seen. Obviously, they've got a lot of talent in their defensive. They prefer the likes of Mancini. I've seen him start over Calafiori, and also the guy we'll talk about in a minute, Buongiorno, has been starting over him as well. So we'll have to wait and see whether he gets the starts. But if you can see here how he's performing for Bologna, really, really well. This is a ball-playing centre-back, near the top of the metrics for pretty much all the main metrics. The only one he's below average on is progressive passing distance, so his passes maybe could be a bit further, but his passing is really strong, makes a lot of tackles, a lot of interceptions, really good in the air as well, gets on the ball a lot, very comfortable on the ball, very brave on the ball as well, likes to get forward for a defender. So really exciting defender, very brave defender, an aggressive defender. As you say, Juve are looking at him. It'll be interesting to see if maybe there's an injury in the back line and he comes in, whether he gets those regular starts for Italy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Italy because they played a back four in the first game against Turkey, and he came on for the last 10 minutes and filled in at left back for Di Marco. In the second game, they played a back three, and they had him at left centre back and Buongiorno in the centre of the centre back. So it'll be interesting to see which way they do go with it when the tournament actually comes around. But like I said, I think he can play both roles really well, and I would love to see him through the door at Tottenham. And let's finish off talking about Alessandro Buongiorno of Torino, 35 million market value, 25 years of age, currently, like I said, playing for Torino. And I think that he's a player that's come on leaps and bounds this season, and I think he would be a really good asset for Spurs if we were to sign him.
Yeah, I think he's one Tottenham are looking at, I think, at the moment. Clearly a left-sided centre-back, which he is something of interest for Tottenham. I think, obviously, playing for Torino, they kind of play a different style of football, so it's hard to know in terms of the metrics how good he'd be at Tottenham. But if you look at the radar, it doesn't look for great reading for how he would perform on the ball. Off the ball, that's where he performs the strongest, and you can see here his defensive metrics are the strongest on the radar, but it definitely would need a lot of improving with his passing and in possession if he does make that step up to Tottenham. Clearly, defensively, very adept, and that is good for Torino. But I guess similar with Dragoshin, he had to improve a lot on the ball once he came to Tottenham. I think Buongiorno would have to adapt in a similar way. But he looks like he might be starting come the Euros, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, it depends if they go for a back three or a back two, because obviously they've got Bastoni, who's going to be a dead cert to start for them at left centre-back. In the game, he did play, like I said, in the middle of a back three. So if they do go for the back three, that's where he could be starting with maybe a Darmian or a Mancini taking the right centre-back role. So he's also been touted out, very heavy links to Antonio Conte and Napoli this summer. So we'll have to wait and see how that one progresses. But there is a lot of interest within Italy's top clubs for him this summer. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But yeah, that is the 12 players we have to look out for this summer. If there are any others that you think we've missed out or you think that we should be keeping an eye on, let us know in the comments section below. But that is our 12 players to look out for at the Euros this summer. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.